Good afternoon and welcome you all today. And I would like to pay respect to all the monks that appear together today. And actually, the Dhammacakka Community Center, Buddhist Community Center, get together today. It's not the first time. And still continue to share love and understanding now and in the future for a long time. And we come together today to celebrate the Katinapucha. I believe that every one of you understand very well the meaning of Katina that occur in the Buddha time. But I would like to spend some time to mention a little bit about the origin of Katina. Then would continue and to mention about something important for our life. Actually, after the Buddha enlightenment for about 6-7 years, and many monks that follow his teachings and practicing, training themselves to pass many steps of training. Many of them earn the ultimate benefit of the teaching that we may call Arahanta or lower. And every one of them try to use the time that they may still have to work hard, to go here and there, home to home, village to village, to share his knowledge to everyone for benefit of mankind. They don't have any time for them to rest. They don't have any time for them to stop. And as you know that in India country at that time, most of people survived by planting many rice and many things. And since the monks continue to do their task, to focus on the benefit of human being or mankind, then they move here and there all the time, including in rainy season. So that makes some harm to some kind of the crop or the rice and many things else. And people start to complain. And then the Buddha set up the rule for monks to stop at the rainy season or Vassa. And later we call 3-month retreat. Because of that 3 months is the very special time for monks to stop at the specific place. And people who live not too far from the temple can bring their own self and their children and also relatives, friends to learn more of the teaching. And monks live together. And as you know that at that time, any monk who learned the teaching from the Buddha, they would go to find the suitable place for themselves to practice from the beginning to the end. And there is the tradition that after they live somewhere for 3 months and also train themselves, and whatever they earn, they will come somewhere that the Buddha live and to report whatever result that they earn to the Buddha and to find the way to develop themselves. And there are 30 monks that ordained directly from our Buddha, and none of them became Arahata. Also, none of them became lower than the second stream of the Arya. It's called Sakitakami. And even though they came very close to Chetavana, but when the 3-month retreat come, by rule, they must stop at a city called Saket. And whenever the 3-month retreat over, then 30 of them decide together to see our Buddha, even though at that time still muddy and rainy everywhere. And they do not spend a lot of time because they're so anxious to see our Buddha to report what they gain and to see the Buddha. And the first moment that they meet the Buddha and the Buddha see them, have very hard time, wet and dirty. So as any father, any mother that see the children have or live at a difficult moment or difficult time, then the Buddha have the idea to help them. At that time, the monk allowed to use only a set of rope, and the Buddha allowed them special that the monk can find more set of rope to help them to lead in the easier way. So this the only rule, the only special that the Buddha allow the monk to have another set of rope. So then that is the original meaning of the Katina, that the monk have time to find a piece of cloth and put it together to make a piece of rope. And because of very difficult to find rope at that time, so that's why need to use all the ability, quality of every monk to help. It doesn't matter that monk may be young, may be old, may be medium age or whatsoever, must come to help, since have very short time only one day to finish everything, starting from preparing rope, preparing cloth to make as a rope, and to change in the monk color, to dry everything. So this, I would like you to look at the detail of the way that the monk did their rope, and look at the deeper or deepest meaning of the rule that the Buddha put together, that each monk, especially we live in the same family, in the same temple, and would reflect to us as a Buddhist, the support monks and temple. We can bring the teaching that monks get together and reduce the atta or the pride, because it doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. You must come together to make whatever goal, to make a rope to finish in one day, and have to have the frame to make the rope. You see, the frame is very important to make a rope, and very important for our own life also. You see that the teaching of the Buddha have many. It's said in the Tipitaka or the Pali Canon, 84,000 principles. I don't think that 75 or 80,000 days that the regular people have would be enough time to study all of those teachings. But we don't need to. We must understand that 84,000 principles we can group into 3 groups. The first group talking about do not do any harm to ourselves and to others. Secondly, start to do good to ourselves and others. Thirdly, purify or cultivate your own mind. And 3 of them we can conclude to one teaching. That means to be aware, to be careful in anywhere, any situation. So then the frame itself can compare to the precept. As a Buddhist or anyone who wants to live peacefully must follow, practice the precept. And you know, sometimes the teaching of the Buddha, like 4 Noble Truths and 8 Paths, very difficult to explain for people to understand, because it's not much about some knowledge or some teaching that we would really know by understanding, but we would know, we would realize by practicing. The teaching of our Buddha is not the teaching that we must believe it right away. The Buddha told us in many events, many times, that whatever I said, you please do not believe it right away until you bring that teaching to verify, to train, and to get the result by your own self, then you would decide to believe or not. So this very special way that the Buddha teaches, because the Buddha respects any audience that must use their own brain, their own experience to think first. Then if we do like the Buddha wants us to do, then we become adult, even though we are very young, because we think first before we believe, before we follow. Then we should be self in any way, in any situation. And then the meaning of the Katina tell us many things. Like every one of you that come today together, I'm very impressed that you together share help in many ways that you could do. Do not have any feeling of pride that, oh, I'm bigger than you, you are smaller than me, something like that. It become very beautiful. Everyone have a chance to offer something to the monk. Everyone have a chance to share at least their smile, at least their loving kindness, at least their understanding to themselves, to each other. This is very important. Especially nowadays, you will see that everywhere in the world become more difficult to live, have problems everywhere. Look at Thailand, look at many countries now. So we should realize that our own life, the time that we still have, is very important. I would like to share with you a little bit about the life of Mr. Steve Jobs. I think that everyone knows him. In the last 2-3 weeks, people around the world talking about his life. And one teaching that very touched the mind said that we should always be hungry and foolish. Because if we think about we are hungry, then we will work hard. We will try to do the best we could. But whenever we think that we already have enough, but should clarify the thinking that hungry and have enough. That's the meaning of humble yourself. Then you would try to use your ability and quality not for yourself and for others. You see, whatever you do, if you think just for yourself, it becomes narrow and narrow. But if you think wider, that not only myself, but I want myself to strong enough to be depending on ourselves, then I have a chance to help others. You will see that, or you feel that your mind become wider, bigger, and you ready or have a chance to help others. So this is very important that that's why they said whatever we do, if we do by our own act, by our own speech and the mind together. For example, when you chant, at the time that you chant, you're reading the book, the chanting book, and the most moment or at the present time, your mind with the chanting, with the word, you will feel the joy in your mind very strongly and have special energy at that moment. But if at the time that you chant, your mind traveling somewhere, the joy, the power of joy or the energy of joy reduced, and you don't know what you are doing, and the benefit that you gain at that time would be fully benefit. You spend the same time, but you earn a different result. So that's why they said that dance and dancing must be together. Dance and dancing must be together. Your life and the chanting must be together. Please do not separate yourself and the chanting. If you study the chanting, the teaching that come out from the chanting, so that's why we chant about the quality of the Buddha, how good the Buddha is. But do not stop only the chanting. The Buddha tells us to bring the quality that the Buddha earned, to train ourselves, and we can become what we call Anubuddha. That means follow the teaching of the Buddha and absorb the teaching of the Buddha. Then we can become the following Buddha. Even though we do not change to wear a robe, anyone can be a Buddha by practicing. But if you read or you listen to the teaching or the chanting and just want to know, it only becomes the information, cannot become the teaching, cannot become the fully benefit for your own. So when we look at in the chanting, changing in every part of the world, then you come to compare to your own life that many years in the past, maybe 10 years, 20 years, every one of you younger than now, including myself, so we can see the changing. The changing very important, that let us understand our life. If we can treat whatever we see, whatever we know, as the teaching, to understand the real meaning of the teaching of our Buddha, we will earn the benefit every step. So, I believe that every one of you already understand very well the origin of the Katina, and also understand that how you can earn the meaning of origin of the Katina and apply to your own life. and to gain the benefit of the Katina meaning. So then we come to know more about the Katina that connect to the spiritual or the famous teaching of our Buddha. I would like to share my experience a little bit that I have a chance to teach many American students that come to learn Buddhism here. There are very famous teaching that they like to learn more than many teaching of our Buddha, like Four Noble Truth and Eightfold Path. Today I would like to spend some time with you that the teaching of the Buddha, especially the Four Noble Truth and Eightfold Path, why it really touched American student mind more than many teachings, because the teaching of Four Noble Truth and Eightfold Path talk more about cause and effect, and we can see that how the teaching benefit to their life do not have to wait here and there, but they can realize and they can see the benefit of the Eightfold Path right away. So the Four Noble Truths, starting from life. If we do not look at the life in the negative way, in the opposite way, but we look at life in the realistic way, we would understand the same way that life is suffering. So this is the fact. It doesn't matter how you're going to look at it. Like some American thinkers said that our Buddha, the way the Buddha look at life, he most look at life as the negative way. Actually, it's not true. But the Buddha look at life in the realistic way. And that suffering, I would like only two of you to join my talk, just to give the sample of suffering that you think it is the suffering. Anyone, please mention a little bit about what you think, what is the suffering?
Sickness.
Sickness. Yeah, sickness. Another person maybe, or already have sickness.
Jealousy.
What is that?
Jealousy.
Jealousy. Why the sickness? When jealousy, you think that it is suffering. Why?
Because you suffer when you're sick.
Suffer. How about when we sick but we do not suffer?
Meditate.
Can happen that way,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? Many times I ask my students that anyone like to be suffered? They just quiet. They didn't say anything. And when they ask another question, that anyone earn benefit from suffering, some of them tell me about his or her sample. And I would like to ask the same question. Another two people that anyone earn any benefit of the suffering? Benefit of the suffering. Benefit of the suffering, please. Yanti, Miss Yanti.
So we know when people suffering, when we have pain, we know that some people have more pain than us. So we gain wiseness that we don't suffer anymore from that pain.
Well, that very good sharing also. I also would like to share something with you that especially the girl. Many of you, when you're still young, you normally help your mother to cut the vegetable, and sometimes you cut your own finger. Tell me about how you feel when you have a first cut, bloody, everything. You normally worry about it, how long it takes to heal, and things like that, cry. And then the second time, you cut yourself again. Maybe a bigger cut than before. But now you do not worry too much about, because you already know that it doesn't take long, it would be healed, right? So that means the pain and the suffering and the worry are two different things. So that's why whenever we have the experience about sickness, we may be suffered, or we may not be suffered. But that jealousy, very sure that that person will suffer because already a jealousy to himself or to others. But the benefit of suffering, many benefits. If there is no people that been ill, how come we find good doctor in our society? If the car do not break, how come we find good mechanic? You see, cause and effect. Everything cause and effect. Then we go to the next, that very good teaching. And suffering is the effect. The Buddha tells us that whenever we experience the suffering, then we should educate to understand the cause of the suffering. So this is very important teaching. So when we realize the suffering, normally help us to understand more about the corner of life. Just like Steve Jobs, that after he get together with his friend and to open the company called Apple Company, and then he hired a person who very good about managing the company. And then later on, his friend and that person get together and kick him out. And he said in the history that that is very good time for me to realize my own self, to understand the fact that after I became no job and my mind become clear and could create many things else. And there is very great person in Thailand, and at that time he was the position of the prime minister, and because of the politics matter, then they put him in jail, and he thought to himself and tell people that, oh, now I will have a chance to write my own books. And he used the time that he stayed in jail for a few months to finish his 2 books. So the suffering that we run into help us to educate, to find or to research the cause of the suffering. And the cause of the suffering, please share with me that what you think is the cause of the suffering. What is the cause of the suffering?
Desire.
Anyone said about something, attachment or something?
Desire.
And actually, the attachment is the cause of the suffering, because that attachment can create lopa, tosa, and moha. That is the very powerful and very great kilesa that tie on individual to reborn again and again. So that's why the attachment is very powerful. But if we can do somehow to be free from the attachment, then the degree of kilesa will reduce. But how we can reduce the degree of kilesa? The Buddha said we use the system to end the suffering as Eightfold Path or middle way. But the middle way is not in the middle. Maybe on the left, maybe on the right, but you balance. You use 8 factors until that 8 factors become one. So I told before that 8 factors we can group into 3 groups that we already practicing in our daily life. Precepts, discipline the mind and the wisdom. We just do more and understand more about the meaning of the Eightfold Path, and then we're going to reduce the cause of the suffering. That means the attachment little by little. But nowadays, since we in the society of IT. The attachment also very important, but we should understand how to treat with it. For example, if I email some information to the members and I forget to attach that information, he or she would say no attachment. Then I have to hurry put the attachment in there and resend again. So that's why whatever life that we are in, we can be attached or unattached. Support, we have the children, we have husband, we have wife, and we play our own duty as husband, as wife, as children, but can be no attachment to, because if we play the role by cause and effort, that's why our Buddha, many monks that already trained themselves to reach Arahanta, they still take care of, they still help to teach many people non-stop, but they leave no attachment. They still do their own duty, the most that they could do, but no attachment. So this very good sample for us. And there is the sample of a man. His name is Upali. He trained himself. Actually, he had 2-3 wives and leased the state. And one day he called his wife and said that if you have a chance to meet another man, you can do so. The wife thought that, oh, what happened to you? And later on she realized that because her husband reached the step that just live together, but no relationship as husband and wife. So this is also very important, that how we understand the attachment. The attachment doesn't mean that you cannot do your duty to take care of whoever you still have the duty to take care. But let them grow by themselves. So the way to use the Brahmin stage, Metta, Karuna, Mudita, and Ubekha, that's also a very good sample of non-attached. You just do your own duty by cause and effort. And this reduces the suffering time to time. And that's why even though we are sick, but we will not suffer anymore. I would like to share my thought and also really respect your support to do the Katina ceremony together today and have very good result. And I do wish that by the power of the triple thing, the Buddha, the teaching of the Buddha, and also the Sangha and all goodness that you cultivate together today, will become the energy to support your own and your family to be very well, healthy and very successful. Again, thank you very much.